Hey y'all, it's Kate, and today I'm going to be attaching a hairstyle to the little sprout doll that we made with my free doll pattern, and I will link that video in the description. And I speed this one up a little bit because we're going to be using some of my foundational hair attachment methods that we've seen before. And if you want to see this process really slowed down, I will also include that video in the link below. Right now, I did about 60 loops of yarn around my elbow, and I'm just measuring around the doll's head like a headband, and I'm going to mark that distance on a piece of paper. And I'm just going to sew this bunch of yarn onto the paper between my two lines right down the middle, and I'll spread it out as I go. So I'm just finger combing the yarn, and I'm just pressing as I begin, and then I just naturally spread this yarn out. And right here I just pull the second half out to finger comb it again and continue. But I feel that this method really cuts out a lot of um, steps that kind of prolong the process quite a bit. And so this has really worked well for me. But I'm going to turn it when I reach the end and go back across, and I'm turning it one more time. And the reason I do this is so that my weft won't stretch too much, because I want it to stay this length, and if it stretches too much, it'll just be too long. So now I'm going to situate the weft onto the doll's head. I'm parting it so I can just situate the hairline the way I like it, and I'm going to pin it right in the middle. And then I'm just going to pull the yarn back to make sure that the hairline is looking right before I pin it in place the rest of the way. So now I'm going to do the other side, and that looks good. So I'm going to turn it around and pin the rest of the hairline all the way around, and then it'll overlap right at the middle of the back. And so I'm just going to group all of the top hair together and tie it so that it doesn't get in my way, and I'm going to start sewing. I actually use my acrylic yarn to sew my weft on. So that works really well for me because it's the same color. It might not work so well with other types of yarn, like wool tends to pull apart when you separate it. You can also use upholstery thread, which I love to use for various things. It's really sturdy and it doesn't tangle easily. Or you can use embroidery thread of the same color. You just want a thread that is fairly sturdy and will hold this in place. So for this stitch, I'm doing a diagonal back stitch, and it really just wraps around that seam on the weft and secures it really well. And I've worked my way all the way around back to the center of the back of the head, and I'm just going to put in a couple stitches right there where it overlaps just to secure it really well. And I'm going to pull it through to the bald spot and snag a little piece of fabric, wrap the yarn around my needle, and pull it into a knot. So I made the mistake on this next part of not measuring. So I should have measured from that top part to halfway down the back of the head, and I would have saved myself some trouble. But I did about 25 loops on my elbow again and cut both ends, and then sewed 3 passes across the middle of that bunch of yarn. And as you can see, it almost goes halfway, but not quite. I just needed to go a little bit farther. So I recommend measuring that distance as we did with the first weft. So I just did a back stitch at the very top of the part, and I'm going to just sew in the same style down the center part just back stitching on a diagonal to really secure that weft. And another thing I wanted to mention was it's a good idea to use the same color thread on your sewing machine as your yarn hair to sew the weft down the middle. So, full of mistakes today. But now I'm measuring my third weft, which is going to go all the way across the back of the head. And the reason I wanted that second weft to be a little bit longer is because I want it to come all the way to this weft to make kind of an upside down T. So I'm pinning that in place. And I'm just going to do a back stitch to start with, just to really anchor that edge of the seam, and then continue in the same manner. And I'm reaching the end. Just do an extra stitch here on the end to really secure that, and I knot it. And one reason I love using the yarn is because I can just leave that yarn tail and it blends in with the other yarn hair. So now I'm just separating some little wispies and just collecting all those hairs in the top 1/4 side and securing it with a hair tie. And then I'm going to get a piece of yarn and I'm going to wrap, tie really tight, wrap, tie, and then wrap and knot the third time. And we're going to pull that hair tie off. The hair tie really helps because it holds it in place. It keeps your yarn from loosening when you're tying it, and it just works really well. And now I'm going to do the other side. I show you a little better how I separate everything out on this side, but you can see why I want that center part to go all the way to the third weft. And I'm just really thoroughly finger combing this before I tie it with the hair tie. All right, now I'm tying it with my yarn. Wrap, tie, wrap, tie, wrap, knot. And that is it, y'all. This doll reminds me so much of my middle daughter. She had and still has very thick brown hair, and I would style it like this, and it was so cute. And um, a lot of my dolls just look like my daughters. I've heard people say they look like me, and that's because my daughters look like me. But this has been a lot of fun. As you can see, I have foundational attachment methods that can be used for a lot of different hairstyles. And so I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye.